All right, I am joined now by a member of our island community who was actually in New York the fated day of September 11th, 2001, Eugene Bordallo, who was working in the financial industry. You know, New York City, of course, you know, the heart in Manhattan, the heart of media, the heart of finance, obviously the heart of fashion and everything. So, Gene, thank you so much for sharing some of your time and memories that I'm sure to this day, you know, are very difficult to talk about. So, can you kind of maybe contextualize, you know, what was it like for you to be in New York City on 9/11?
Certainly. And I'm sure if you asked anybody about 9/11 who was in Manhattan, you'd hear the same thing. It was a Tuesday morning. It was gorgeous and, you know, very still day. And it's New York, it experiences the four seasons. And so you really want to be there in the fall or the spring. And so this was, an autumn day. And most people were going to work. I was on the bus and heard a lot of murmuring. And, at that point, most people had cell phones. And you just had to ask, what's happening? And they were getting calls from their, family members. World Trade Tower was just hit, or a plane flew in the World Trade Tower. They don't know what's going on. And so for those initial moments, people thought it was a recreational plane that just kind of maneuvered itself and hit the tower. So again, or as I was saying before we went on the air, that you could be anywhere in Manhattan and all you had to do was look south and you would see the towers. And because the planes hit, the higher floors, it was visible to anybody who was in Manhattan. So immediately you're on the bus and you just, turn your neck and look southward and you saw the smoke starting to emanate from the building. And, the World Trade Tower is so huge that the smoke just didn't look that big. And so you just kind of, stuck to, you finally got into work and people had radios on, or if offices had a TV on, you went to New York One, which is the live local station. And so as time went on, I think it was about 45 minutes later, or no, I'm sorry, it was 20 minutes later that the second plane hit. And then that's when it became apparent that this could be a terrorist attack. And everybody just, stood on edge waiting, for what's going to happen next. And so many people who work, or the majority of people who work in Manhattan, don't live in Manhattan. So you're living out in the boroughs, the Brooklyn, the Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, Connecticut. You're all commuting in. So if something is going down and you have family and you have children in school, that becomes a huge concern. Is the city going to shut down? And sure enough, we got word, at least I was working for Bear Stearns at the time, and our department head called our whole floor into the library and said that, it was, from all indications, this was a terrorist attack. And he said, if you have to leave to tend to your family, you leave now. And if you cannot leave, if you can't get out to the boroughs, because they immediately shut down the bridges and the tunnels, that, I don't know, Bear Stearns had reserved enough hotel rooms. I don't know how they did this at the drop of a hat, but that if you couldn't get home, that they would make accommodations at local hotels. And so, everybody just started leaving. And I was also living in Manhattan at the time. So, the subways stopped running after a time. And so you just decided to walk home. And frankly, I don't like to share this part very much, but it was a very surreal event. And so you didn't know what life was going to bring you the next day. And I came into work wearing a suit, leather shoes, right? And so immediately, it felt like the apocalypse, and all these stores as I'm walking home, 50% off, 75% off. And there I was, okay, if I'm gonna walk all the way home, I better get a pair of running shoes or walking shoes. So I remember going to a store, getting a pair of walking shoes and walking all the way home. And I just thought it was the strangest thing. Here we were hit with a terrorist attack, and I'm buying a pair of shoes to get home and just secure myself up. And once I got home, it was really being glued to New York One and watching the events. And again, all you had to do was go out to your apartment balcony, and just that's when you started to see one tower fall, the next tower fall, and just all the smoke and the ash. And I had friends who worked for NYPD, New York Fire Department, and fortunately, those that I knew hadn't died, but they were part of the bucket brigade. You know, when they weren't on duty, they were down at the World Trade Center cleaning up, and you know, they experienced health issues, I think lung inflammation, and it really was a horrible time.
Gene, let me ask you, if I may, you know, you, as a New Yorker, you know, being through that firsthand, and you know, having a pulse of the city, and you know, knowing what the community was going through, you know, the confusion, you know, the shock, the anger, the disbelief, as you said, but then also being a Guamanian and having, you know, the connection to your island roots, and you know, like the sense of family and the sense of respect, and saying, you know, we've never shied away from a challenge or hard work and everything. 20 years later, what does it mean to you? You know, having both of those, both of those qualities about yourself.
Well, to be candid with you, 9/11 really was the advent of me opening up my eyes. And I don't want to get too political, but it began, I started to go down this road. Why is the US hated? Why would a terrorist organization want to attack us like this? And then you start to take on a global perspective of where are we in the world? And so I just think the whole thing is all the death that has taken place, not only in the United States, but in the Middle East. So we get involved in a couple of wars. And so usually when the US media, tallies lives lost, it's usually American lives lost. And, one thing about Chamorro culture is, I mean, even with how we view children belongs to the whole community. Well, you could say that about adults. You know, we're all part of a family. So I just look back at 9/11 and just think, really, for what, it was a waste. And then the pursuit of the wars, in my opinion, were a waste. And lives lost is never a good thing. And I've since become very anti-war. You don't achieve peace by war. So I've become more staunch in not pacifism, but more of a peaceful approach to
Sure.
our place in the world. And so this type of thing doesn't continue, and it seems like it has. We're in a constant kind of fear of where's our enemy coming from, and I'd rather us be making peace. I'd rather us be, let's use our military to, open new hospitals, build homes for the poor, rebuild our infrastructure, as opposed to inciting issues. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Well, final question. And since you brought up, the younger generation, the natural flow of things just tends to be, as years go on, younger generations either don't know or aren't sensitive to, or just completely forget, for insensitive reasons, the events of the past. So as someone who lived through the darkest day in American history and everything like that, what lesson would you like younger generations to know, like, when they're taught about 9/11, and when you speak to them, and when they learn about it from, from their relatives, what should they take away?
Well, firstly, I would hope that in the school system, that when history is taught, it's not coming from an American-centric position. Um, and that's what I received growing up. U.S. could not do any wrong. And I grew up really at the end of the Vietnam age. So I would, hope that young children, and many of them are more intelligent than I was, and I think more of them are more globally minded especially because of environmental issues. That has opened the door to, what we do here, how we conduct business affects other parts of the world. If we pollute here, pollution moves. So I think they've got a better grasp than my generation did. So I just hope people get a global perspective of our place in the world. And yeah.
Very true. Very true. We all need to come together. So, Gene Bordallo, thank you for sharing some memories. Again, I know it's probably 2 decades later, certainly not easy to talk about, but we do appreciate your insight and some of your thoughts for things to think about on this 20th anniversary of 9/11. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.